My God, I hate drugs.
Daw po yung dahilan why these teachers withdrew from the plebiscite committees, or they didn't think it would be important to find out, and the main role na lang of the PNP was to substitute for them.
Yeah, basically, we don't have any ways of doing that because how can we talk to them when in fact they haven't appeared in these polling precincts? But nevertheless, that might be investigated by the COMELEC and later find out the reasons why. We work on actual things that happen. We don't have to wait for the reasons. Once they don't show up in these polling precincts, we really have to go to our contingencies and substitute them, because our priority for this plebiscite is, of course, that everything would be successfully held.
A check on our global headlines. British Prime Minister Theresa May refuses to rule out the possibility of Britain exiting the European Union with no deal at all. This as British lawmakers are planning to introduce new legislation that would suspend Article 50, the mechanism which facilitates Brexit. On Monday, May said her government would continue talks with other political parties in the United Kingdom. She seeks to modify her Brexit deal before seeking fresh concessions from the EU in Brussels. Brexit, a combination of the words Britain and exit, is happening on March 29th, whether a deal is in place or not. Some 3,000 of the world's richest and most powerful people are crowding into the small Swiss mountain town of Davos for this week's World Economic Forum. Many world leaders have canceled their trips to Davos to deal with more pressing matters back home, including U.S. President Donald Trump, British Prime Minister Theresa May, French President Emmanuel Macron, Chinese President Xi Jinping, and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Meanwhile, other national leaders who are making the trip include Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro, and German Chancellor Angela Merkel. Among the challenges they will discuss are climate change, the global economy slowing sharply, and central banks' response to a big recession.
A waiting game now down south is counting for the historic vote on the Bangsamoro Organic Law continues. Our senior correspondent David Santos is now in Cotabato. David, there's quite a number of social media posts already claiming the outcome of the vote. How credible are these?
Well, good morning, Ria. We've also seen these social media posts of supposed unofficial results from the different areas that were part of the plebiscite. But of course, nothing is final and official unless the Commission on Elections says so. So COMELEC is expected to resume anytime now the canvassing of votes for Cotabato City 1, if not the most hotly contested areas of the plebiscite. We don't see that happening as we speak. We don't see any sign that it's going to happen anytime soon. But the Board of Canvassers suspended their count at 1 o'clock this morning, and now they should be resuming the process, supposed to be resuming the process at this hour. Now, one notable thing about the situation here is the difficult conditions of the teachers and the plebiscite volunteers are in. Many of them spent overnight here at the ARMM complex since COMELEC designated limited personnel to accept present returns or the tabulated results from the different polling precincts. Now, many of these teachers have been up since yesterday dawn. That's already more than 24 hours, so they are now forced to take naps on chairs and tables. Others are sleeping on the floor. Workers of more than volunteers and workers of the more than 370 polling precincts, about a third of them have yet to turn over their precinct returns. Now, when asked if they could add personnel receiving these precinct returns to hasten the procedure, accordingly, the teachers were told that only designated by law COMELEC staff can process the documents. Now, within the day, we expect the Board of Canvassers for Cotabato City to complete their count. Only then we can get a clearer picture on whether Cotabato City indeed has voted to be part of the new autonomous Muslim autonomous region. If indeed the yes vote won, it will be historic, since Cotabato City in two previous plebiscites for the ARMM in 1989 and in 2001 consistently rejected moves to include them in the new autonomous region. Ria.
All right, David, so the counting is going on there. When it gets to the ARMM complex there in Cotabato City, of course, these results need to go to the COMELEC in Manila. When can we expect that to happen?
Once the process is completed here, at least for the Cotabato City Board of Canvassers, it will be immediately sent to Manila, where the National Canvassing Board will also convene to begin canvassing the votes from the ARMM. But we must also remember that aside from Cotabato City and Isabela City, whose the respective Board of Canvassers of these cities will immediately forward the results to Manila, the other parts of ARMM, the 5 provinces, Lanao del Sur, Maguindanao, and Basilan, Sulu, and Tawi-Tawi, they have to forward the results from their provinces here, because it will have to be canvassed in the regional level. From the regional level only, then this could be transported to Manila. So you can just imagine the long process it has to go through. That's why COMELEC is saying it could take about 4 more days or so before they could actually come up with the final and official results of the plebiscite. Ria.
All right, so we will have to wait a little longer. Thank you very much, David Santos there, reporting live from Cotabato City. Now, COMELEC reports no major incident during yesterday's historic Bangsamoro vote. Our chief correspondent, Pia Ontiveros, spoke to COMELEC spokesperson James Jimenez for an assessment of the plebiscite.
We had a regular crop of complaints of people not being able to find their names, but in most cases we basically established that they really were not supposed to be on the list, either because they were not registered or because they had been deactivated. We did set up assistance centers in the regional office, for instance, where people could check whether or not they were in fact supposed to vote. So again, having gone through that process, we're confident that everyone who should have voted was able to vote.
James, with the exception of those, the reports about two explosions in Cotabato City today, were there any other peace and order situations or problems that you came across that impacted on the plebiscite?
No. The most we had were scuffles among voters. Some voters being very eager to actually get into the polling precincts, but nothing of the level that would have disrupted the elections in a major way.
Jimenez also said COMELEC aims to finish the overall canvassing in 4 days. Besides keeping the peace, police also had to substitute for some members of the plebiscite committee in Cotabato City. Deputy Director General Archie Gamboa says some teachers did not show up in 3 polling centers.
We had to redeploy some of our personnel, actually 72 of them, to substitute as members of the plebiscite committee, specifically in 3 polling centers in Cotabato City.
We're going to check out the counting of votes in various parts of Mindanao. We have our David Santos, George Cajiles, and Trisha Terada still there, as they were reporting yesterday, and they're going to let us know how the counting is going. Of course, James Jimenez of the COMELEC said, these votes are being counted manually, so it's going to take about 4 days for official results to come out, but the counting has begun.
Well, I do hope that they did get some sleep. I know it was a busy day for them yesterday, and I'm sure it's going to be the busy day for them for the next couple of days. But new studies have shown that poor sleep could lead to clogged arteries.
What?
So anything less than about 6 hours of sleep could be alarming. So do get some Z's in as much as you can.
How many hours?
More stories. Well, it's supposed to be 6 hours.
6 hours?
Yes. Don't you get 6 hours of sleep already?
I'm barely hitting that, I think.
Let's go to the Australian Open here. No sleeping, but Serena Williams back in tip-top shape. She moves on to the quarterfinals as she takes down women's number 1 Simona Halep. But Zverev, how about this? He bows out, and he even breaks his racket.
On purpose, or as an
out of frustration? I mean, once you're there, you have no control over how
you know Alexander Zverev. He's like it's a human human reaction when you're Frustrated. You
Yesterday's
just wanna break
match of
something.
There he goes.
Nishikori and Djokovic, they fought
Oh,
to
yeah.
stay alive. So
have-
they are still in.
We have all the details on the Australian Open later on the program. So, again, stick around until 7:30 for those stories and more. Meantime, here are the morning's headlines.
Election officials say final results of the votes on the ratification of the Bangsamoro Organic Law are expected within 4 days. In hotly contested Cotabato City, some delays in canvassing of votes are reported. Children's rights advocates and several groups speak out against the passing of the bill at the House of Representatives that lowers the criminal age to 9. And boxing champ Senator Manny Pacquiao's Los Angeles home is burglarized while he's in Las Vegas after his fight with Adrian Bronner.